Good morning, everybody. How are you all today? Hope you are all fine and safe at home. Yesterday we started with reference data types and call by reference method of invoking a function. So reference data types, yesterday one of your batchmates, one of the students asked me to explain reference data types once more. 20 are there. Okay. 23 students are there. 3 more are there to join. Okay. So reference data types. So let me explain you reference data types once more. A quick review of reference data types. Okay. Assume that there's a class called student class, public class student. Public class student, and student has some characteristics, some instance variables are there in the student class, say int r number, roll number, string name, and there's a method, there's an instance method called void input method to accept the data for these variables. There is one more method, void display method to display the data of these variables. Okay, and you can write main method, doesn't matter, main method can be written. Okay. So there is a class like this. So I just want to create an object of the class through code. So to create an object of the class, normally the primitive data types, when we declare a variable of primitive data type, what happens is, primitive data types, int x comma y, two storage locations are declared by using the keyword int. So when this statement is executed, normally what happens is two different storage locations, each consisting of 4 bytes, will be reserved and the names x and y will be given to those locations. So the first storage location thus contains 4 bytes named as x, second storage location contains 4 bytes named as y. Okay. So there are two storage locations with the name x and y, and you will be able to, they are the actual memory locations where you can store the value. Okay. Yes, here you can assign the value x equal to 5, y equal to 25. So through assignment statements, in x I have stored the value 5 and y 25. Values are stored in the same location itself. Am I right? So here values are stored in the same storage location which is named as x and y. Okay. This is the case of normal primitive data types. When you declare a variable of any of the primitive data types, a memory location will be reserved according to the data type you used. If you are using byte data type, 2 bytes will be reserved and a name will be given to it. If you are using integer data type, 4 bytes will be reserved and a common name will be given to that. You will be using the same storage location for storing the data. The same location is used for storing the data. But this is not the case of reference data types. There are 3 different reference data types in Java: classes, arrays and interfaces. Reference data types are classes, arrays and interfaces. So you are going to study about arrays in the coming chapters. Classes you may have already studied, how to define a class, how to create an object of the class, that we have already studied. So in the way of calling or invoking a method in Java through call by reference or call by pass by reference method is related to reference data types in Java. If you want to pass the values of primitive data types to a function, the value of actual argument will be copied to the formal arguments that we have seen in the previous class. As in pass by value method, there are no changes taking place in the original value. A duplicate value of the original value will be created in the function, and function works with the duplicated value. And changes made by the function in the received value will not be reflected to the original value because they are working on two different places. Whereas in case of reference data types, in reference data types, in a class is a combination of different things. There are variables of different data types, an integer variable of integer variable named as R number of integer type, name of string data type. Okay. So there are a number of variables and a number of methods. It contains different data types, a combination of different data types. A class is a combination of different data types. So class is known as a composite data type. Please excuse me. Hello. A class is a combination of different data types. Okay. User can include any number of data types, primitive data types here. You can declare a variable of Boolean type, or you can declare a variable of character type, or you can declare any number of variables of floating point or double data type in a class. So class is a totality of different data types and methods. Okay. So it's not, we cannot restrict that this class should contain only integral data type or floating point data type or string data type. It's according to the user when he define a class what kind of data he wants to store in each object of the class. According to that he will be using different variables, and different methods also will be defined by the user according to his need. So class contains different data types. It's a composite data type. A class is a composite data type. Okay. Not only a single data type in the class, it contains a combination of different data types and methods as defined by the programmer or user. Okay. Similarly, arrays. An array is a combination of similar data items. In an array, we will be able to store a number of data items, and in interfaces also it contains a number of methods and constants. Okay. So these are all combinations of different data types, and different a number of elements will be there in these kinds of reference data types. As in class we can see two variables are there, two methods are there, two different data variables of two different data types. So a combination of methods and variables of different data types. So when we try to pass an object of a class or an array to a function to process, duplicating an object of the class is memory. It will consume a lot of memory. Okay. In pass by value method, what actually we are doing? Not we, what actually the computer is doing. Variables used at the function call, value of the variables used at the function call will be copied to the formal arguments. So in two different places the same value is copied. That's okay, very simple, because individual data types are used. But when you consider a class, it may contain a number of different data types and a number of methods also. Duplicating all these in the memory, if you want to process a class with the help of an object of a class with the help of a function, you have to send all these data to function. So if Java is using pass by value method to process reference data types, duplication of all these values will take place in the memory. So it consumes a lot of space. So to avoid that, what Java will do is, when you create an object of a class, you will be able to pass that object to a function. Okay, only the address of the object created by you will be given to the function. Okay, we will see what it is. So, reference data types are classes, arrays and interfaces. Now, let us see how to create an object of this particular class and explain to you what is reference data type in the simplest form. This is a class. I want to create an object of this class. So, to store anything in the memory, we have to declare variables. Am I right? Create an object of the class student. Okay. And I have to get the reference where in the memory that student object is created. So, imagine that this is the memory area, memory. Okay. Here x is declared and stored. X, y is declared here and stored. Values are stored in x and y as 25 and 5. Okay. When through these declarations. Okay. And now I want to create an object of the student class. So, what I have to do is the syntax is class name followed by object name. In 2 steps you can declare the variables for pointing to an object of a class and create the object and assign its address to the variable, or as a single step also. So, let me go for 2 steps. Student type S1, S2. I declared 2 reference variables of student class type. When this particular statement is executed, what happens in the memory is, in the computer memory, 2 storage locations will be, 2 different storage locations will be created and given the name as S1 and S2, some other storage location S2. Okay, 2 memory locations will be reserved. They are special memory locations. They are special type of memory locations. You will not be able to store any value in these locations because they are of what type? Student type. Student is a class, a particular class type. So, we have learned in 4th lesson of 9th grade textbook, class is a composite data type. It is a user defined data type. Whereas in float, double, boolean and all, they are inbuilt data types. They are the primitive data types. So, by using the primitive data type, user has created his own data type and given a name for it, that is student. So, student is a data type created by the programmer or user. Okay. So, when you declare a variable of student type S1, S2, so 2 variables I have declared of student type. This act as a data type here. This student act as a data type here. Okay. So, S1 and S2, 2 memory locations will be reserved with the name S1 and S2. It does not have any characteristics of any objects. Okay. So, simply 2 memory locations are reserved, and these locations are known as pointer variables. Pointer variables. They are known as pointer variables. Okay. In S1 you will not be able to store roll number or name. In S2 also you will not be able to store roll number or name. Okay. S1 will not have the method input or display. S2 also will not have the method input or display. We have just declared, we have told the computer, just reserve 2 spaces of the type student. Okay. Student is a composite data type. This particular class type 2 variables are declared. So, in memory what happens is 2 storage locations of a specific type will be reserved and will be given the name S1 and S2. And these locations cannot be used for storing any ordinary value. Say S1 equal to 25 is not possible because 25 is an integer value. S1 is of what data type? Class type, this class type. So, this S1 and S2 you will not be able to store any ordinary data, any primitive data. Okay. Instead of that, in S1 and S2 what we can store? Later on, when you create any object of this student class, you can store the address of that object in S1 or S2. How to create an object of a class? So, these variables are known as pointer variables. They can store only memory addresses. Computer memory is made up of large number of electronic cells. Each cell has a unique address to identify it. Okay. Each cell has a unique address to identify it. Just imagine that this is computer memory. It is made up of large number of electronic cells. Each cell has a unique address. Imagine that hexadecimal number system is used for storing the address of memory cells. So first cell's address is A12. So imagine that it is A1, this is A2, this is A3, A4, A5, like that it goes. Each cell has a unique address, given in memory to identify. Okay, but we don't know what is the cell address of different storage locations in the memory. It is very difficult for us to find out the internal addressing system, address of each memory location. So what we will do, when you give the command int x, all these memory spaces are free. So what computer will do? First 4 spaces, first 4 bytes, 4 bytes will be reserved, isn't it? Not only first 4 bytes, first 16 bits will be considered, 4 into 4. Sorry, one bit is how many bytes? Sorry, one byte is how many bits? 1 byte is 8 bits, isn't it? For integer variable, how many bytes will be reserved? 4 bytes. So 32 such storage locations will be grouped together and a common name X will be given to all those 32 cells together. Okay, understood? We don't know what is the address given to different cells. We know only about the variable name given by us X. Okay, and X equal to 25 means all these locations together will be known as X and 25 will be stored there. Okay. So there is an addressing system to give address, memory address to each cell in the memory. So when you declare a variable of class type, student type S1, S2, you are telling the computer, please reserve 2 different locations in the memory, 2 pointer variables, create 2 pointer variables in the memory and give the name S1 and S2 to it. Later on I will be using these storage locations. That's what you are giving the information to the compiler. Now object is not created. 2 reference locations or 2 pointer variables are created in the memory. Okay. Now to create an object, real object, new keyword is used. Say S1 equal to new student. This command, new command creates an object of reference data type. Whether it is an array or interface or class, whatever it is, new keyword creates an object of the particular type. Classes, arrays or interfaces. So here new and a class name is given. So an object of student class type will be created in the memory, somewhere in the memory. Okay, imagine that here and all. It is filled with data. These spaces are not empty. So here computer finds an empty space. So an object of the student class. An object of the student class is created here. Okay, this is an object. Okay, in this object there will be location to store roll number, name. So there is a space to store roll number, R number, name, and apart from that, let me use this entity as square. So this is the object created in the memory. There is a location to store the R number, another location to store name of the student, and 2 methods are there, 2 instance methods are there, input and display. Input method is there, display method is also there. So an object is created in the memory, display method is also there. This object is created with all the characteristics defined in the class. So new keyword created an object in the memory. Where is this object stored? Imagine that if I represent it as a rectangular entity, we can go for the cell address, starting cell address. The starting cell address, this particular starting cell's address, imagine that it is AFED, a hexadecimal number. Okay, an object of the student class which is created by using new keyword is started from the cell which is known as AFED. For the object of the student class, memory is allocated from AFED onwards. Continuous memory locations are given. So, the starting cell address is AFED and that address will be stored in S1. Okay. In S1 we are storing the starting cell address of this object. So, S1 will contain the starting cell address of the object created in the memory with the help of the keyword new. So, S1, I told you that S1 is a pointer variable. It is pointing to this object which is started at the cell AFED, okay, which is started at the cell AFED. Object created, this is the object, starting cell address is AFED. Here we have the variable R number, name, display method, input method, display method. Okay. So, S1 points to a memory location. S1 point to an object of the student class. S1 is pointing to an object of the student class. S1 gives the reference of a, reference means address. S1 gives the reference of a student type object which is created in the memory. So, S1 is pointing to an object of the student class. Okay. S1 is pointing to an object of the student class. Did you understand? So, S1 is not an ordinary storage location. It's of student type variable declared. Student type S1, S2 means declare two storage locations in the memory of type student, which we will be using later on to store the addresses of the student class objects. And the student class object is created with the keyword new. New keyword created an object of the student class and its starting address is given back by the new keyword and that value is assigned to S1. So, S1 contains a memory address. S1 contains a memory address. Reference of a memory location. It contains a memory address. If we go to S1 and take this value, we will be able to go to the location where the object of student class is created. Okay. So, now if I say I want to store the roll number here. So, S1 dot R number equal to 1. So, in the storage location 1 will be stored. What I am telling the computer? Go to S1. S1 will give you a memory address. According to that memory address, you go to that particular memory location. From there, if you go through, continuously some storage spaces are reserved. If you reach to the beginning of the object and you will be able to navigate through all other memory locations of this particular object. Okay. Go according to the address given by S1. Reach there. Then from there go to R number. Location named as R number which is inside this object. Okay. And store the value 1 there. Similarly, S1 dot display. When I invoke display method S1 dot display, go to the object whose address is given by S1. S1 is pointing to an object of the student class. Go to that place and access or invoke the display method. Okay. So, instance variables and instance methods are copied to each object. When you declare a variable of a particular class type, actually you are telling the compiler, I will be creating an object of this class later on. So, to store the address of that object, declare a variable, reserve a memory location. That's what student type S1 means. You want to create an object of the student class later on. To store that object, when you create, reserve a memory space named as S1. Okay. Student type S1 and S2 reserved 2 spaces. You can use any of these 2 spaces to store the address of the objects of the student class. To create the object, new keyword is used. S1 equal to new keyword is used. So, new, what kind of, which class name is given? Student is given. Okay. So, student class type, an object is created in the memory. Its starting memory cell's address will be assigned to the variable S1. So, to refer to different storage locations in the subject, S1 dot variable name, S1 dot method name is used. Okay. Now, our S2 is free. S2 is free. Am I right? S2 is free. So, if I say S2 equal to S1, S2 equal to S1, what will happen? S2 equal to S1. What is there in S1? In S1, AFED. It's an address of a student type object which is created in the memory. So, what is stored in S1? That should be stored to S2. S2 equal to S1 means what is there in S1, that should be copied to S2. So, what is there in S1? A memory address. That will be copied to S2 also. AFED. AFED. Okay. Now, if you use S2 dot R number. Earlier we set the value of R number as 1 here. S1 dot R number as 1. Okay. S1 dot R number as 1. Let me write those statements also. S1 dot R number equal to 1. S1 dot name equal to, say, Anila. So, in the name we have stored Anila. A name. Okay. Roll number is 1. A name is Anila. Now, after that, I told the computer, whatever is there in S1, you assign to S2. S2 equal to S1. So, through the statement, what happened is, in S1 we have a memory address. That memory address is given to S2. Okay. Now, when I tell the computer, system.out.println, S2 dot R number, what I am telling the computer, go to the place which is pointed by S2 and take the value from the location named as R number. So, S2 dot R number means what? This variable is also pointing to the same object in the memory. This variable is also pointing to the same object in the memory. So, S2 dot R number, what will be printed? 1 will be displayed on the screen. S2 dot name, same name, Anila will be displayed on the screen, isn't it? S2 dot name, what will be displayed? Same, Anila will be displayed. S1 dot name, Anila will be displayed. S1 dot R number, 1 will be displayed. So, both of these variables are pointing to the same object. Am I right? Both of those pointer variables are pointing to the same object. In such case, you look at I am giving an assignment statement. S2 dot R number equal to 25. S2 dot R number equal to 25. Initially, I told to set the roll number as 1 here and name as Anila. The initial name was initial roll number was 1 and name stored in that object was Anila. Later on, I told S2 dot R number equal to 25. Now, S2 is pointing to which object? S2 is pointing to the same object which is pointed by S1. So, in the same storage location, instead of 1, what will be stored? 25 will be stored. So, this variable, through this variable, we access to the same object and S2 dot R number made a change in the value. Okay. And S2 dot name equal to Rahul. So, S2 is pointing to the same object in the memory so that compiler reaches here or JVM reaches here and this name will be changed to Rahul. Okay, Rahul. Is it clear? So, there are two variables which are pointing to the same object. Both of these variables can make the changes in the state of this object. By using S2, we can make changes in Roll number and name, by using S1 also we can make the changes in roll number and name. So what is copied actually when you gave the assignment statement like S2 equal to S1, only this address is copied to here. Both these variables are called as pointer variables or reference variables. So this concept is used in pass by reference method. In pass by reference method, this idea is used. We will write a program and I will explain to you that through the program how pass by reference method works. Is it clear now? How an object of a class is created and how it is referred, different variables and methods of an object, how it is accessed through reference variable. Ebita, are you there? Ebita? Ebita? So did you understand? When a variable of a particular class type is declared, actually it is not the primitive, it is not the memory location where you can store any primitive data type, data of primitive data type. It's a special memory location reserved which you can use to store the address of an object of this class type only. Okay, student type S1. This S1 can be used to store the address of only student class objects. You will not be able to store the teacher class objects in S1. S1 can be used to store only the addresses of any of the student class object. Okay. Similarly, S2 also can be used to store an object of the student class. You will not be able to store the address of any other objects of some other classes. Only student type objects address you will be able to store in S1 and S2. So two different memory locations are reserved. They are known as pointer variables. You cannot use that storage location to store any primitive data type. You can use those locations only to store the address of an object. That object should be an instance of student class. So object is created with the keyword new student. Okay. So new keyword created the object, the real object is created in the memory and its starting cell's address is given returned by the new keyword and it is stored in S1. So address, starting cell's address is stored in S1. So S1 is not an ordinary variable. It's not a primitive data type. It's a reference data type. It is giving the reference or address of a memory location. It is referring to a particular memory area of the memory. Okay, a particular memory area or memory cell. So when you assign a reference variable to another reference variable, S2 is also of pointer variable. S2 equal to S1, what happens is, not the entire object will be copied to S2, only whatever is stored in S1, this address will be copied to S2. So now both are pointing to the same storage location in the memory. So if you make any changes by using S2 number, it will affect the same storage location. If you make any changes with the help of S1, that also will make the changes in the same storage location. Okay, understood? So when you copy the address of an object, suppose you are using this object in a function call, its value will be copied to S2 object in the function prototype. So only address is given by the actual argument to the formal arguments. Formal arguments works with the same object and changes are made in the same place. That we will see through a function. Okay. Call by reference method. Now we are going to discuss call by reference method. Only 2 marks question will come from here. So the question will be like this: differentiate between call by reference and call by value method. Theory question. No programming problems were asked from this part as it is little bit difficult. Okay. So 2 marks question, only a 2 marks question you can expect. Call by, what is the difference between call by value and call by reference method? So 2 points for each topic you have to write, that's all. But still you should understand how it works, that's what. Okay, yesterday I started writing a program, we will work with that program. Today's class may be extended to 11:30 also, so I just want to complete that program. So be there itself, 11 o'clock, don't exit, okay. Public class call by reference. Call by reference. Two variables are there. Imagine that two variables are there, x and y. Int x comma y. Two variables are declared. And there are two methods. One instance method and one main method is there. Imagine that one instance method. One instance method like public void change method. Change method. This method accepts an object of a class. I want to pass an object to this method to perform some calculation. Okay, object of a class will be passed to this method. So, to store that passed object's address, I have to declare a variable of that particular class type. I want to pass an object of call by reference type to this method. So, here I am declaring a reference variable or a pointer variable of call by reference. Call by reference type a variable. Call by reference type, say obj1. obj1. Call by reference type obj1. Here what did I do? In the memory I told I want to create an object of call by reference type. When I create an object of call by reference type, its address should be stored in obj1. Okay, this is only a pointer variable, not the real object. I want to give an object of this class to this function to make some changes. Okay, so imagine that function received an object. Okay, function received an object. And in the function, we are making some changes in the value of variables x and y. Okay, let me write the program after that. Let me give the name as object2 because in main method I have used object1. obj2 dot x equal to 200 comma semicolon, here semicolon, obj2 dot y equal to, two separate statements, okay, or let me write it below, otherwise you will commit mistake. obj2 dot x equal to 200, obj2 dot y equal to say 500. Two variables are there in the object of this particular class type, okay, that I will explain. Let me write it. So from the method I am just displaying system.out.println, I am printing the value of x, system.out.println from change method. Change method. From change method we are going to display the value of x and y. System.out.println x equal to obj2 dot x. System.out.println y equal to obj2 dot y. Method is closed. Now I am going to write the main method. Main method, public static void main, public static void main. In the main method, I am going to create an object of this class. I am going to create an object of this particular class. So here this method is non-static method. It's an instance method. To invoke a change method, we have to create an object of this class and then object name dot method name should be used. That should be the syntax used for invoking change method. For that purpose, I am going to create an object of this class. So, call by reference type. Call by reference type a reference variable, say obj1 equal to new keyword is used to create an object. New call by reference, new class name. New class name. So object of the class is created. Now what I want to do is, I want to assign the values to these variables through this object obj1. Okay, obj1 dot x equal to obj1 dot x equal to 1000. obj1 dot x equal to 1000, and is this part visible? Test me. This part if I write. Okay. obj1 dot y equal to 200. Sorry, 2000. I assigned the values to x and y as 1000 and 2000. Now, I want to pass this object to this method to make some changes in the value. So, I am going to call this function. Before calling this function, I will just display the value of x and y. Program will be explained to you in detail. Program will be explained to you in detail after writing. Okay. So now I am going to display the value of x and y. So system.out.println value of x and y before calling the method. Value of x and y. Value of x comma y before calling the method. Value of x and y from main before calling the method. Before calling the method. So I did not call change method. Before calling itself, I am going to display the value of x and y. Okay. So system.out.println x equal to obj1. So here, what is the object created? Object created in this main method is obj1. obj1 dot x. System.out.println y equal to obj1 dot y. Okay. Now I am going to call change method through the object name dot method name. So obj1 dot change method is called. So when I called the change method, this is a parameterized method function. So I have to pass an object of call by reference type to this method. So obj1 dot change. obj1 dot change, I am going to pass the same object's address obj1 to this method. Now system.out.println value from main after invoking the method. Value from main after invoking the method. Invoking the method. System.out.println value of x and y I want to print after calling the method. What changes happened I just want to show you. So x equal to, in main method we can access the values of x and y through the object 1. obj1 dot x system.out.println y equal to obj1 dot y. Okay, so main method is closed, class is closed. Let us see how it works. This is the program. Look at in Java, execution begins, as you know, in Java, execution begins from main method. So after writing this program, you have to compile the class, right click on the compiled class. So you will be able to see only one static method is there, main method. So you have to select main method. So statements written inside the main method will start execute, Java Virtual Machine will start executing the statements written in the main method. Body of the main method will be executed. So execution begins from main method. Okay. In the main method, what we have written? Call by reference type obj1 equal to new call by reference. So what it says in the memory, in the computer memory, imagine that this is the memory area. Okay. This is the memory area. Okay. In the memory, declare a variable with the name obj1 of type call by reference. This class type 1 variable should be declared in the memory. Okay, that class type 1 variable should be declared in the memory. Okay. So obj1 is declared, a memory location is created. Called by a reference type obj1 reserved a memory location, a pointer variable obj1 in the memory. Object is not yet created. New command creates an object of this class type. So a real object is created here. This is the object. Okay. A real object is created there in the memory. And its starting cell address. Imagine that starting cell address is ACF. Okay, starting cell address. That starting cell address is stored to object 1 to this memory location. So ACF is pointing to an object of the class. This object will have, what are the features of this object? These variables, instance variables, non-static variables. So there will be two storage locations. One is X and another one is Y. And there will be a method also. What is the method name? Change method. So here there will be change method also copied. So an object is created by new keyword and it gives the starting cell address will be returned and that cell address is stored in the pointer variable obj1. Understood? So an object is created, it is pointed by the variable obj1. Now what I am telling? obj1.x, go to the location which is pointed by obj1, the variable obj1. obj1 is pointing to this particular object in the memory. In that object, go to the location named as x and store the value 1000 here. 1000 is stored here. Okay. obj1.y equal to 2000. Go to the location, go to the object pointed by obj1 and store the value 2000 here. 2000 is stored here. Understood? Now I am going to display it in the main method. In the main method, I have given the command system.out.println value of x and y from the main method. Before calling the function. Okay, we did not call change method. Before calling change method, what is the value of x and y? Okay, so to print the value of x, go to the location pointed by obj1, take the value. So system.out.println x equal to, one message will be displayed, obj1.x, take the value from this location and display it. 1000 will be displayed on the screen. Okay. Output 1000 will be displayed first. X equal to 1000. So first output x equal to 1000. And then next statement is system.out.println y equal to obj1.y. Go to the location which is pointed by obj1. Come to this object and go to the location named as y. From there take the value and print. So y equal to 2000. Y equal to 2000 is displayed on the screen. Now we are calling change method. Change method is written to make some changes in the value of the object. Okay. Assume that change method is written to make some changes in the value of this particular object. Okay. So object one's change method is called this change method. Object one dot change. This change method is called. So control jumps from here to this method, comes here. It comes to here. Okay. So here there is a parameter. There is a parameter formal argument. So this is the actual argument. Actual argument is object one. Here what type of argument is used? This is a class type variable, isn't it? What kind of? It's a call by reference type variable. What does it contain? obj1 contains a memory address. So this address will be copied to obj2. So when control jumps from here to the call by reference method, from here control goes from here and jumps to the change method. Here there is a variable of call by reference type. Okay. So in the memory another variable is created with the name obj2. obj2 is of what type? Same class type. So obj2 also can be used to point to an object of this class. Okay. So here in the method call we used obj1. Its value will be copied to obj2. What is there in obj1? ACF. That will be copied to obj2. So ACF will be copied to here. Okay. So when you are passing an object to a method, only that reference variable we are giving here. Whatever is there in the reference variable, that's an address. That address will be copied to a variable of that particular class type. Okay. So obj1's value, this address is copied to obj2. Now this function works with obj2. Change function doesn't know about object 1. Change function knows about object 2 only. Object 1 is local to the main method. Object 1 is declared in the main method. It is local to the main method. Object 2 is local to the change method. Only change method knows about object 2. Okay. Okay. I'll write. So control comes here. Control comes to you. When the method call is encountered, control jumps to that method and the argument's value will be copied to the actual argument's value will be copied to the formal argument. Formal argument is object 2, actual argument is object 1. This is a formal argument. Okay, argument. Object 2 is the formal argument. So this is what has happened in the memory. And change method knows only about object 2. Change method doesn't know about object 1. Okay. Object 1 is declared in main method. So object 1 is known to main method only. So in change method, it will be making use of object 2. So here look at object 2 dot x equal to 200. What we have done? Object 2 dot x equal to 200. An assignment statement is given. Object 2 is ACF. Object 2 is pointing to the same memory location. So it is also pointing to the same memory location. Object 2 dot x. We are going to the same location in the memory. Okay. Here it is changed to 200. Here the value is changed to 200. and object2 dot y equal to 500. Object2 is pointing to the same object in the memory, and here the value of y is changed to 500. Okay. Value is changed to 500. Now we are printing system.out.println from change method. Change method we are printing object2 dot x. What is object2 dot x? 200. Object2 dot y? 500. So from the change method, when you are printing the value of x and y, you will get 200 and 500 printed. Earlier what was the output printed? 1000 and 2000. Value of x was 1000, value of y was 2000. So here I am just erasing upper part. Value of x printed from main was 1000 and value of y printed from main was 2000. Now from change method, when we print, change method made some changes in the same object. Okay. Value of x from change method is 200, y is 500. Okay. So once if the commands are executed, last command you can give return command. Return command I did not write. You can include a return command. Even if you don't give the return command also, after executing all the statements, control will automatically go back to the calling part of the program. So as the last statement is executed, we got the values of x and y displayed. We come back to the calling part here, to the next method, to the next statement. Okay. What is next statement? Value from the main after invoking the method. After calling change method, we are printing the value of x and y from main. System.out.println x. obj1.x. What is obj1? ACF, pointing to the same object. obj1.x. What will be the value printed from main? Main again x equal to 200 will be printed. Okay. obj1.y. obj1.y. obj1 is pointing to the same object. So y will be 500. Y is printed as 500. Okay. So from the main, when you printed the values, initially before calling the method, you have got the values 1000 and 2000. After that, same object's address you have passed to the method. This object's address is copied to the method. So this method got the address of the same object in the memory. Method got the address of the same object in the memory. And what happened? The method went to the same object and made some changes in the original value. Original value is changed by the method because address is given. Only address was given, not the entire value is copied to object 2, not the entire value is copied to object 2, not any other objects are created in the memory. Only one object was created and its address is given to the function. Okay. And function went to the same object and made some changes in the original object. Okay. So function made changes. That change was reflected in it. Change was permanent. Change was permanent. After executing all the commands from the function, you came back to the main. Once the function is executed, control will come back to the main. Remaining statements of main, when it is executed, you got the changed value printed. That means in call by reference method, when you pass an object to a function, not the real object will be created in the memory, only its address will be copied from actual argument to the formal argument, and the function goes to the same object and works with the same data. Changes made by the function will be reflected in the original value. So we have lost the original value. We have lost the original value. Original value is not there. Okay. It is erased from the memory and a new value is saved in the same location by the change method. Okay. So when a reference data type is passed to a function, no duplicate copy of the original value will be created. No more objects are created in the memory. Only one object. Its address is just given. It is just like that. I have a question paper. in the previous class I told you the example. I have an English question paper with me, a paragraph is typed with grammatical errors. So in the last program you have to do and find out what is the result. Okay, you have to type the program and get the result displayed on the screen, then only you will be able to understand. Because in your 10th grade textbook, one program is given like this, where object is used for explaining you the call by reference method. Okay, so okay, let me come back. In call by reference method, what happens is the address of the actual argument is copied to the formal argument, and formal argument works with the same memory location, not with the duplicate copy. So whatever changes are made by the function will be in the same place where the original value was stored. See, we lost the original value, we will not get it back again. So in Java, all the reference data types, objects of all the reference data types like classes, arrays and interfaces, when you pass the objects of these reference data types to the function, only wherever it is stored, the object is stored in the memory, that address will be copied to the formal variable, formal argument. And formal argument, by using formal argument, function goes to the same memory location where the real value is stored, and function makes changes in that location. So original value gets lost. We will lose the original value. Okay, that is known as call by reference method. So let me summarize. Call by reference method is used for invoking. It's a type of way of invoking methods in Java. In call by value reference method, reference data types are passed from the main method or the function which invokes the method. From there, the reference data types are passed to the function. When a reference data type is used in the method call, not the real object is created, only the address is copied from this actual argument to the formal argument. Okay, when a reference data type, when this object is passed from main method to change method, this object is not duplicated in the memory. Instead, what happens is its starting address, its address will be given to the method. Yeah, I was talking about an example of a question paper. I have an English question paper typed with me, and a paragraph is typed with grammatical errors. I want somebody to correct it for me. Okay, I'll call Agna. Agna, I have this question paper with me. You do one thing. You take this question paper. You don't waste time to copy the paragraph which has grammatical errors into your own book. No need to copy. What you can do is take this question paper and correct it in the same place where the mistakes are there. Okay. You correct the paragraph in the question paper itself. Make corrections in the question paper itself and give me back. Okay. That is the case of call by reference. An object is there. Its address is given. Okay, you go to the same place and make changes. In the main method, we created an object. We want to make some changes in the object. So we are not giving a copy of it to the function. Instead, what we are giving, okay, this is the object created in the memory. You can go there and make some changes. We are telling the function, we are telling change function. You go to the same place in the memory, go to the same object, make some changes in the same object. Okay, we don't want any duplicate copy, we don't want the original value also. Make the changes in the same object. Okay, so we are passing the address of the same object to the function here. Yesterday's program, day before yesterday's program, what did we do? Question paper was there with me with the grammatical errors. I called Grace and told her, okay, Grace, come here. This is English question paper. There's a paragraph which is typed with the grammatical errors. What you have to do is, I want you to correct all the mistakes. You are not supposed to correct the mistakes in the same question paper, because I want the same question paper back. I have to give the question paper to one more student and check whether that student is thorough with the grammar. Okay, so don't make any changes in the question paper. You do one thing, you take this question paper, copy it in your notebook. You have your own copy and make the changes in your copy, in your notebook. In your notebook, you write the correct paragraph and give me back this question paper as well as the corrected data. Okay, that is the case of called by value. Called by value. Call by value method is used only for primitive data types. Whenever you want to pass a reference data type to a function, Java uses call by reference method. Address of the object will be given to the function. Not the real object will be copied. Not a duplicate copy of the object will be given to the function. Java will not create a duplicate copy of the object. Instead, to create a duplicate copy of the object, lot of memory is consumed, isn't it? There are two variables, a method is also there. Again, memory space is consumed, more memory is consumed compared to primitive data types. Objects are composite data types. Objects are combinations of different data types. So, it consumes lot of memory. So, if you tell the function duplicate it, so again one more object will be created in the memory. Unnecessarily we are wasting the memory space and your system's performance will go down. Okay. To avoid that duplication of objects and consuming more memory spaces, what Java will do, when an object has to be passed to a function, its address will be given to the function. Okay, you go to the same place and make changes. So, in call by reference method, actual data gets changed by the function. If the function has any statement to make changes in the value of the object, that will be reflecting in the original data. Okay, state of the object is changed by the function. So, in pass by reference method is used to pass reference data types to a function. In pass by reference method, only the address of the objects are passed to the function, and function goes to the same memory location and makes changes in the same data. So, original data will be lost. Okay. So, that is the difference between call by reference and call by value method. In call by value method, so ICC question, 2 marks question, differentiate between call by value and call by reference method, or pass by value and pass by reference method. So, you have to write it as 2 column, write the heading call by reference, call by value. Under call by value, you write first point as call by value method is used to pass primitive data types to a function. Primitive data types to a function. That is the first point. Under call by reference method is used for passing reference data types to a function. Okay. In bracket you can write arrays, interfaces, classes, etc. Second point is, in call by value method, the changes made by the function will not be reflected in the original data. Original data will remain unchanged. Whereas, under pass by reference method, you write, in pass by reference method, changes made by the function is reflected in the original data. So, original data will get changed in the call by reference method. Only these 4 points you have to study. But today you should do this program in your computer and compare the output you are getting by executing this program and the previous day's program. Okay. And send me the screenshot. After doing this program, you take the photo of that and WhatsApp it to me. I just want to make sure whether you have done it or not. Last program also I have told, in the last class also I have told you, if I give you a program to do in the class, you have to do it in the computer, take a screenshot of it, take a screenshot of or shot of your program and message it to me. +2 students are doing it, okay. I want to get the screenshot from everybody today itself. Which are the programs? Call by value method. Call by value, one program we have written day before yesterday, that program screenshot as well as this program screenshot. Concept should be thorough to you, because these kinds of questions will be asked for interviews when you go for a job. If you want to become a software developer or programmer, or if you are going to take computer science, BTech computer science or MCA, and after completion of your course, when you go for interview, interviewer may be asking you such tricky questions, such difficult questions. What is the difference between call by reference and call by value? So if you don't know the concept, how will you be able to answer? So for that purpose only, I explained you this topic in detail, okay. I think concept is clear for everybody. Is there any doubt on this? Is there any doubt on this? With the array as an example, I will explain to you call by reference method with the array as an example when we deal with arrays, okay. Now you have learned how call by reference method works with objects. When objects are passed to the function, what actually is happening in the memory? Marin, did you understand? Marin Joy, did you understand the difference between call by reference and call by value method?
Yes.
Alan Kuttukaran, Alan Kuttukaran, yesterday he was not there. Today also he is not there. Did he leave the school? He left the class. Only 21 are there. So 2 more are there. Those 21 students list I will copy. Don't close it. Let me call those absentees. So their internal marks will be cut. If they are absent from one class, 1 mark will be cut. So now Alan Kuttukaran is not there. Now he joined. I don't want anybody to go out in between. We are seeing this practice. Regularly we are seeing this. When some question is asked, the child will not be there and won't respond. If you are not responding to my question, I will cut the mark definitely. Alan Kuttukaran, your 1 mark I cut from internals. Where did you go in between? Hello, where did you go in between? Respond. Alan, yesterday also I asked you a question. You were not responding. So today definitely I am going to call your father. So you can expect a call from me. Let me find out your number from the group. Okay. I will inform your class teachers also. Your class teacher. And principal father also. I will inform principal also. What is that? Internet problem. Always internet problems. So tell your father to get it correct. Because this year, maybe we don't know how long it will continue online classes. So if you have internet problem, how will you learn? And these videos will not be posted in YouTube because children are continuously absent in the classes. So videos will not be posted unless and until you have any genuine reason. You have to contact principal only if principal says we will post the video. And I am not the person who is posting it in the YouTube. Principal, if principal gives instruction to the teachers, those who are sitting for recording, they will post it. So for that you have to request to father. What reason will you say to father? And what is the use of continuing like this? I want everybody to understand the concept which I teach in the class. That day itself, I told you, I gave you the freedom to contact me at any time. My phone number you will get from the group. Just take group information, or for your information I'll write my phone number on the board, and later on you should not say that, Miss, I don't know your phone number. Okay, you can call me on this number at any time. Even at 12 o'clock midnight also if you call, I will attend the call. 7012815879. This is my number. So call me on this number if you have any doubt. Sometimes the message sent by you, I might not have seen. So I may be late to respond to you. So that should not take place. If I am not responding on the same day, you have to call me. Okay. It's not an excuse when the teacher is giving you the freedom to call her and clarify the doubts. It's your responsibility. And children are making calls to me. Only some are not making calls. So I want the screenshot of these two programs typed in your computer and message it to me. I will go through it. Okay. If anybody is absent from my class without any genuine reason, definitely your internal marks will be cut. And I will ask you questions, you should respond to me. Only through this way you will be able to study. Okay, and I will conduct a test paper. Only one more topic is remaining with us in this lesson. After the completion of that, I will send you a note. When you get the note, by Monday you will get the notes. Okay. So after sending the notes, I will conduct a test paper on this lesson. Thank you. Take care.